All right. Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shah Bahashem, Makakwadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples towards younger brothers. And peace and blessings and salutation to the hopeful elect out there pushing his word and truth and in sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shah Bahashem, Rakakwadash, pushing to get up out there. Shalom to the hopeful elect, the believers, the listeners whom have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shah. All right. And what I want to get into with this lesson this morning, is dealing with how bitterness and correction, is making us a finished product. There's a necessary bitterness, all right? There's correction, okay? Constant correction in the truth. And that's the Lord molding us into a finished product, okay? Or righteousness, man, fit for the use of the king. Whether it's, the men, who he's molding to be joint heirs with Yahweh Shah, man, okay? And you particular women, if you women, you've been molded to be wives to those men, okay? So there's a level, of bitterness, okay, and correction, that's ongoing, okay, that's refining us, for the use, all right, of the king, and it's eternal. See, this is a temporary bitterness, and correction that we're going through, a chastisement that we're going through, which is preparing us for a eternal office, man, an eternal glory. And that's why when you go here to the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 7, in verse 3, it says, sorrow is better than laughter, for by sadness of the countenance the heart is made better. Now you read in NLT, it says sorrow is better than laughter, for sadness has a refining influence on us, man. And it's not a thing to where we intentionally, burden ourselves, or intentionally, put ourselves in a crazy situation. No, just by default, the situation and circumstance that we in, there's a level of sorrow and bitterness that comes with it, man. Because we thirst for righteousness in the wicked kingdom, and it's a vexation, but that vexation is a refining, is a tool for refining, man. Been, frustrated with this kingdom, and, as we await the next kingdom, we deal with the vexation of this kingdom and the frustrations of this kingdom and the frustrations of this world. It's refining our minds, okay? It's refining something that's in us, man, and it's also creating that appreciation for righteousness, man. You see, the Lord is building in, okay, appreciation for righteousness, man. We're going to appreciate the righteous kingdom that the Lord is getting ready to establish, man. Through what? The bitterness of this kingdom. Okay? So through the bitterness of this kingdom, it's making us appreciate, our office, and that's gonna, the Lord is putting something in us, man, to where we're gonna be motivated to serve in our office, man, because we understand the alternative, man. You see? Is this what we in now? This is the alternative of being disobedient. This is the results of disobedience. Okay? And when we experience righteousness, man, it's gonna create appreciation that, without the bitterness, man, we would never have. Okay? Now when you jump down to verse 6, it says verse 5, it says, it is better to hear the rebuke of the wise than for a man to hear the song of fools. Okay? Because you look at this kingdom, and it's the soundtrack of this kingdom is the songs of fools. Okay? And you look at the instructions given by, celebrities and musicians and movie stars and the movies, and you look at all because what even they have what they call influencers. You look on the internet and it's full of influencers. But everyone is a damn fool. Okay? And fool goes into being empty-headed or vain. Okay? So it's better to deal with the rebuke of the wise. That constant correction that comes from the scriptures. You see, because we have to be corrected from this madness that we was raised and born in. We were born and raised in, man, because it was this society cultivated us to be the exact opposite of righteousness, man. It put us in eyes without power. Okay? So as we come into the truth, man, we come into a chastisement and a constant correction, man, which is refining us, man, and getting us ready, okay, for righteousness, man. That's why Scripture say what? Rehearse the righteous acts. We're rehearsing for the kingdom that's to come, the righteous kingdom that's going to be established in the earth. That's what we're rehearsing for, man. You know, we have an office, all right, in the righteous kingdom that we're preparing for. Everyone is preparing for their office, man. Okay, for this righteous, all right, empire that Yahweh Bashim Al Shah is about to establish in the earth. But we got to go through the bitterness, man. You know, which is purging us, man. You see, because when you go on a cleanse, you know, you go on the parasite cleanse. Well, what tells the body to begin the detox is the bitterness, man. When your taste buds, you know, taste those bitters, it gives signals to the rest of the body to start beginning the detox, man. Okay, so you know the process of, you know, a detox, the bitterness of a detox is uncomfortable. You see, but the results, okay, are worth it, man. You see, you do your thorough, you know, parasite cleanse or detox, man, and you know, of course, you get uncomfortable. You have weak moments. You know, certain headaches and withdrawals. Okay, but as those things pass, you know, and you get those jolts of energy, you get that clarity. Okay, you get your creativity, your motivation, and these, you know, you get rid of, you know, excess fat, body fat. Okay, well, that moment of bitterness was worth it, man. And that's what this captivity has been for us, is a moment of bitterness, man, that was needed, you know, to purge us, man, to detox us from wickedness, man. You know, the truth is a detox from wickedness, man. You know, and it's an ongoing thing. Okay, we're constantly, you know, detoxing until we change. Okay, so read this in the NLT. It says, better to be criticized by a wise person than to be praised by a fool. You know, and our people, we live in a world that praises our people for being the goddamn fool. Okay, even going to these podcasters, man, our people, they can become famous just by being clowns on the internet. Okay, you can be a clown with an album. You know, you can be a damn fool. Okay, you know, actor or whatever. You just be a goddamn fool and get praise in this kingdom. You see, but no, on the flip side, we're the outcasts, dealing with the bitterness and the chastisement, but it's working in our favor. That's why. Let's go here to Book of Hebrews, verse 12. But before that, let's look this up real quick. All right, so I asked bitters, you know, what's the benefits of bitters? So it says bitters are not only good for digestion, they are also true detox wonders. They help the body to eliminate harmful substances more efficiently, relieve the liver, and support kidney function. At a time when your diet is often too sweet and too processed, bitter substances can help bring the body back into balance. Okay? Bitter substances can help bring the body back into balance, man. Okay? So when you go into, you know, the bitterness of this captivity, well, it's detoxing us, man, when we really embrace it, you know, because our people try to, fight against the bitterness with comfort, with more sweet. They try to add more sweetness to their situation. Okay? Well, ultimately, the Lord be wanting us to embrace the bitterness, man. You see, and the more we increase in wisdom, the bitter, that's why I say you increase in wisdom, you increase in sorrow, because we understand how it should be. See, we can't unsee it. And see, a lot of our people, they don't want to see the truth because they don't want to deal with the bitterness of it. You know, they don't want to deal with the bitterness that comes along with really embracing this truth, man. You see? But as we really come into the truth, man, and embrace this truth, we have to deal with the bitterness of it, man. You know? Jake want to stay in the matrix and play in this false reality with Esau, with, this false comfort. That's why our people comfort comes and goes. That's why, Jake is always trying to chase money. Jake have a 2025 car, but now that's old. So he got to get to 2026. He got to always buy something new. And always got to, pop another bottle. I always got to buy a new section. Every week he got to show how much money he got. That's trying to add that sweetness, okay, to the life, man. A nigga woman got to go on vacation all the time. Got to show people how she living. Got to even go get surgery done to her body, man. That's Jake trying to chase the sweetness, man. Okay? Jake trying to add comfort, man. They don't want to deal with the bitterness of the scriptures. You see? But nah, man, once we embrace the bitterness, man, we really begin to start detoxing, from wickedness, man. You see? And righteousness is starting. Then righteousness makes more sense to us as well. Because, we're getting that clarity. Like, if you detox and do a parasite cleanse on, just a physical level, so how much more is a spiritual cleanse is doing, through this word and going through the bitterness, the chastisement that comes with it. That's why when you go here, this is Hebrews 12:6. It says, "For whom the Lord loveth, he chasteneth and scourgeth every son whom he receiveth. If you endure chastening, the Most High dealeth with you as with sons. For what son is he whom the Father chasteneth not? But if you be without chastisement, wherefore all are partakers, then are you bastards and no sons." Okay? Because you can look out and see, even look at Esau first. He's not being chastened. Esau is just able to prosper in his wickedness, man. Because the Lord ain't cultivating Esau for nothing. Esau just here to be an example of how not to be. Esau not being cultivated to be joint heirs with Yahushua, to rule the earth in righteousness forever. Okay? So the Lord is not chastening him and disciplining him and correcting him. Okay? The Lord just going to judge him, put him in captivity, and throw his ass away. After 1,000 years, man, eliminate him, all right, after 1,000 years. You see? And right now, 2/3, they're not being chastened to be joint heirs with Yahushua. So they're able to prosper under, this devil, man. Okay? They're able to just go through their day-to-day in oblivion. The Lord is not dealing. The Lord just got them out there willy-nilly because they're not being chastened for the return of Yahushua. They're not being prepared for that. Okay? Eventually they're going to come back, man, but they're going to come back under those who are being chastened now. They're going to come back through those loins, so they're going to be under those who are being chastened now, man. You see? They're not going to have the access and the authority in the kingdom as those that are being chastened now. That are going through the bitterness now, that is going through the correction now. You see? So when you go into this word chastening, okay, you get this word in the Greek.
Strong's G 3809. Paideia.
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 And it says the whole training and education of children, which relates to the cultivation of mind and morals and employs for this purpose, now commands and admonishes, now reproof and punishment. It also includes the training and care of the body. Okay? So when you go into the whole training and education of children, which relates to cultivation of mind and morals, okay? That's why scripture say we have to be what? Be born again. So we can be cultivated in righteousness, man. How should I say you have to be as what? Little children. Why? So we can be chastened and cultivated for righteousness' sake, man. Okay? It says, whatever in adults also cultivates the soul, especially by correcting mistakes and curbing passions. You see? Whatever in adults also cultivates the soul, the spirit, especially by correcting mistakes and curbing the passions, man. Okay, so the Lord is actually doing the work through, the bitterness that we go through. And it's not all bitter. The Lord is balanced. Because our joy comes from seeing prophecy happen. You see, in this bitterness, man, we get joy. And that's the thing, too. Because the thing that's bitter to these people, well, this is a joy unto us. Okay? Because it's bitter for these people to hear about, the war, all right, the economy crashing, the job market, and, you see, the civil unrest, the inflation, and all these things. See, these things are bitter to this world, but see, these things are a joy unto us. Okay? So the Lord is balanced, man. We have, bitterness in this world, but see, our joy, what's balancing us out is the joy in seeing our power at work, man. We're able to appreciate, the Lord at work, as He's getting ready to bring judgment, man. As He's dismantling His kingdom right before our eyes, we're able to appreciate that now. Okay? Because of what, man? This bitterness, man. As I say, it's like, actual cleanse where this bitterness in the spirit is giving us clarity, man. Okay? So, let's go here. And it's all about the end game. It's all about becoming, that finished product. This is Sirach 31. It says, he that loveth his son calls him off to feel the rod, and that he may have joy of him in the end. So now that we come into the truth, man, it's a constant process of correction. That's why scripture is big on what? Self-examination, man. And we self-examine for the sake of correction. You see? So it's going to be a constant process of bitterness, a constant process of correction, chastisement, okay, to become what? A finished product that's pleasing to our power, man. And it's going to be well worth it. You see? So, Lord will, you brothers, all right, and you few sisters edified till next time. Say shalom. Call me Ashala. Abba, soon. Shalom.